Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you a baby update. So if you enjoy this type of content and other homeschool and lifestyle content, please remember to subscribe and let's get into this. Okay, so by the time you see this video, I'll be 32-ish weeks. I'm 31 weeks right now. And so I thought I'd just get on here and give you a little update since I think it's been, I don't even know how long it's been, maybe 6 weeks. 8 weeks since I've even said anything. I'm not really sure. But anyways, it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, we're already at 31 weeks. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, I still have 9 weeks to go. But it's good because I still want to get a lot of things done before this baby gets here. And so that kind of motivates me to not be like super like, oh, let's get it done now. Let's have this baby here now, because I still have a running list of things I'd like to get done before our life is consumed by a newborn, which is what we want for it to be in some ways, but then it just becomes hard to do other things. And so I'm trying to enjoy this freedom, even though I'm uncomfortable and don't always feel the greatest. It's still nice to be able to get some things done without having to worry about a newborn as well in that mix. So at 28 weeks, I was almost 28 weeks when I had my glucose test. I passed that. I haven't ever not passed a glucose test and stuff, so yay me. And everyone, like I've had several doctors, midwives, everything, just because we've moved and everything like that. So I've seen lots of different people, and they always ask about gestational diabetes because my babies are pretty big. And I'm like, nope, I've never had it. And I just have big babies. My mom had big babies. So my husband was a big baby. So I guess here we are, we just have big babies. And so at that same appointment, the midwife was training another person for either being a midwife or a medical student. I can't remember which. So they were going over ultrasounds together. So they're like, we're gonna do an ultrasound so we can check the size of the baby, so I can show her how you would do that. And the measurements obviously aren't perfect. They was off a little bit, but the baby is measuring a week and a half ahead, which isn't abnormal again for me because my babies are usually a lot bigger than the average baby. And so she's measuring a little big, but again, I don't measure big. Like I measure either on the week I'm supposed to be or a week behind, because somehow they like hide in there. I don't even know how they do it, but they do it. So that was the update mostly from that appointment. They did blood work just to check like anemia and stuff. And I was just slightly anemic, nothing crazy, but just a little bit. And so the midwife suggested taking a little bit more iron because I'm not a big meat lover. It's really hard for me to get protein and iron naturally in my diet. I try really hard to amp up protein wherever I can, or proteins that I like, but it's still really difficult. And I'm being pregnant, it's even harder. And I went through a stage like in the second trimester where I maybe had 4 weeks where I could just eat and felt good and nothing was really gross and all that kind of stuff. I had energy, and then it just tipped the other way where the baby, started getting big enough that eating just sometimes makes me very nauseous because there's a baby pushing on my stomach. If it doesn't make me nauseous, it gives me acid reflux. And so I just don't feel super great, and it's just hard to eat. So I haven't been eating. I have been eating. We'll just end the statement there. I haven't been eating. I have been eating, but it's still hard for me just in general to eat. And then when I already don't like meat and then trying to eat meat, that's when I don't feel good. Is not a good combination. And so I've been trying to eat as well as I can and just eat things that will sound good to me. And so from that appointment to my last one, which was about 3.5 weeks because of holidays and us being out of town, I didn't gain any weight. I actually lost like a pound, and which happened with my last pregnancy too. At this point, I didn't really gain too much weight at the very end of my pregnancy, which again, isn't super normal, but it's also not abnormal, especially for me, because I just don't feel well enough to eat super well. So that's kind of where we're at with all that stuff with all the food, with all the tests and everything. Okay, I'm consulting my list to see what else I wanted to mention. So I'm still mostly wearing like normal clothes. This pregnancy and the last one, that's what I did. I really didn't want to buy maternity clothes and spend money on them. And if I wear joggers most of the time just normally. And so they're still really easy to wear joggers while I'm pregnant and my tummy's getting bigger. And so yeah, I'm used to wearing more comfy, stretchy clothes anyway. And so it makes it easy for me to wear the same things. I don't really buy a whole lot of maternity shirts. I just have like t-shirts that have a little bit more space in them anyways. And I don't necessarily like jut out this way when I'm pregnant, like super far. And so I don't necessarily need maternity shirts that allow for that kind of growth. Most of my normal shirts are just fine. And so I go a little bit this way, not so much this way. And then somehow they do a gymnastics move and hide in there. So I don't know how it all works out. But that's where I'm at with that. And again, I just didn't want to spend a whole lot of money. I haven't bought any maternity clothes this pregnancy. My last one, I only bought a few leggings that I could wear because it was winter time that I could wear when we went to a few like nicer things or family events or things like that. And yeah, so church is getting a little bit harder to figure out what to wear with some of my clothes, but we just wear the same thing every week and people that's what I wear. So that's what fits and that's what we're going with and it's what's comfortable. And then I wanted to mention working out. I still have been working out, not as intensely as I was. So we went on a trip a few weeks ago and we did some hiking, which I absolutely love. Our first hike was like 5.5 miles. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen pictures of it, and it was a harder hike. And again, I loved it so much, but the next day we also hiked and it was a lot shorter hike. And my body is it's sore from all those things, right? It can only handle so much. Normally when I'm not pregnant, I will work out and I will go hiking in the same day. And so even though the hike is a huge workout in and of itself, but obviously I'm not doing that right now because my body is so tired. I've entered the phase where I'm kind of circling back to the first trimester and napping most days, and then with low iron and just everything, it's just been exhausted. So I've had to scale back a little bit on some of the things. And then my wrist has been bothering me. I feel like I mentioned this in a video last fall, maybe on some of my goals. My wrist, occasionally if I lift too much, too heavy and too frequently, it starts to bother me. It's like I strain it a little bit. It's feeling okay right now, but after a whole bunch of yard work last week, it was really bothering me. It's mostly like this motion. So holding dumbbells or like doing bicep curls or doing arms is kind of difficult. So I've been trying to just do squats or different exercises with bands that I can do without weights the last few weeks to give it a break. And then I've been working on mobility type things as well through a program that I've been using. And that's been okay. I'm the person I want to get all gross and sweaty and feel like I really worked out, got my heart beat up. But right now it's also just part of being pregnant and letting my body kind of heal and not be overwhelmed, because then it's just hard for me to recover from anything if I just stress it out too much. So that's kind of where we are working out. So I'll still hopefully be able to lift a little bit, but again, scaling it back so that my body is not having problems. I don't really hurt myself. I don't want to actually hurt myself because I really just want to work out. So that's where we are with that. And I think mostly that's it. I don't know if there's anything else. We're mostly ready for her to come. I'll probably, maybe next time I do an update, I'll show you some of the clothes. I haven't gotten a ton, but just because I have pajamas from my last baby, and even though they're all boy pajamas, I don't care. So I got a few girly things she could wear home from the hospital, and then to other things, but I haven't gotten a ton. So it'll be more just as she gets bigger, we'll grab the clothes that we need, and depending on how big she is too, because I usually don't buy newborn clothes because we don't use them, or we use them for a day. And so we'll see how that goes and how big she actually ends up being. But I still need to get a pack and play, but we have a little bassinet, which she'll probably be sleeping in for a while anyways. And I think that's about it. Like, I think we're mostly ready. And mentally, I think I'm mostly ready. I think we're doing pretty good. Last time it was overwhelming. It had been a long time since we had a baby, so there was a lot more to prepare for. So I think we're doing pretty good. But I feel like that's the update. But again, if you have questions specifically about how I'm doing with this pregnancy, or just pregnancy and having babies in general, since I've had a lot and I don't claim to have tons of experience, but I know a few things, hopefully. So if you have questions about any of those things, put them down in the comments and I can work through them in my next video, or just do a Q&A for pregnancy type stuff. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this update. Hopefully it just give you a little insight into what I'm going through behind the scenes right now. And so if you enjoy these types of updates, please remember to give me a thumbs up so I will know to make more of them, and I will see you next time.